Hello, sweet and beautiful people. We're back again with yet another marvelous masterpiece. This time we have amazing news for all the Stephen King fans out there. King's greatest masterpiece, The Dark Tower, is all set for a new live-action series in the capable hands of famous director Mike Flanagan. But it has a problem. See, to compress this humongous epic into a few hours of thrilling adventure, Mike must let go of some of the fan-favorite plotlines and characters. We know the chopping block is coming, but we're hoping and praying Mike will spare this character for his series. But who is this character and why is he so important to the world of the Dark Tower? We're excited to tell you, but first, let us introduce you to the world of the Dark Tower. Dark Tower, the world and story. Well, most viewers clicking on this video are probably die-hard fans of this cult series, but this is important to set the tone of our character reveal, so a little patience from everyone else is appreciated. We promise this is going to be over very quickly. So, Stephen King's Dark Tower is an epic universe that blends stories from diverse genres: fantasy, horror, sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, and spaghetti western. The series, which is comprised of 8 novels, primarily focuses on its lead, Roland Deschain, the last expert gunslinger from his lineage, and his continuous quest to reach the magical structure known as the Dark Tower to seek all his unanswered questions, as the tower itself serves as the life force of this post-apocalyptic world. During his quest in the vast wasteland of the Midworld, Roland battles multiple supernatural obstacles, overcomes personal losses, forms a team called Quartet, and commits many sacrifices to realize his ultimate dream. However, when he fulfills his long-standing obsession of reaching the Dark Tower, he realizes that he's done it many times before, and after achieving it, he's been thrown to the starting line repeatedly, thus stuck in a continuous infinite loop of no escape. But every time Roland starts again, there are subtle changes in his storyline, hinting he will break free from his obsession to reach the Dark Tower one day and learn from his past mistakes. The character we focus on in today's video greatly influences Roland's journey. So, who is this powerful character? His name is Maerlyn, and in the next few minutes, you'll learn everything about him and slowly understand how he could be pivotal in Mike Flanagan's complicated jigsaw. So, without wasting any further time, let's begin. Who is Maerlyn? Rising from the primordial darkness of the Prim, Maerlyn has been nothing short of pure evil and derives pleasure in inflicting pain and suffering without any remorse. One of the prominent villains in Stephen King's Dark Tower series, this demonic wizard has been creating chaos and wreaking havoc in different realms of this ever-expanding multiverse. He's the sworn nemesis of his brother Gan, the epitome of light and the creator of the Dark Tower himself. He's also known by other names such as the Ageless Stranger and Legion, and he's not only limited to spreading darkness and wickedness, but has been instrumental in shaping and crafting the universe's major events. But how can an architect of chaos become the central figure in shaping multiple mythos in a single universe? To find out, we must explore his influence on different storylines since the birth of this universe. Influence of Maerlyn in Dark Tower's storylines. The creator of the Laughing Mirror, Maerlyn wanted to disrupt the holiness and purity of Gan's Dark Tower and its multiverse. So, to plant the seed of his plans, he created a hideous weapon that would seal all the light of the Dark Tower and begin a new era of evil. For this, he collected the drops of immense energy-filled water from the Prim and hardened it with his magic. Then, when he was all said and done, he gave the solidified pieces a round shape and eventually transformed them into a mirror. But it wasn't just an ordinary mirror, this mirror had extraordinary magic. In this mirror, light and good would look ugly and unpleasant, but on the other hand, dark and evil would look handsome and wonderful. Through this deceit, Maerlyn wanted to corrupt Gan's perception of his appearance and ideals of a perfect world and force him to establish darkness and chaos and confusion. So, to set things in motion, Maerlyn summoned all the lesser-known devil deities from the Prim. While looking at their reflection in the mirror, all the devils were overwhelmed when they noticed their false beauty, thus falling prey to Maerlyn's deception. Overjoyed, they made Maerlyn their new king. Maerlyn ordered them to take this mirror to the Dark Tower to initiate his plans to replace Gan's light with his darkness. But his plans took a setback when his minions dropped the mirror midway due to its weight. The mirror broke into thousands of pieces which were scattered across the lands. But Maerlyn, still adamant about destroying Gan and his light, ordered one of his servants to create a tornado and direct the mirror shards towards the Dark Tower to hurt Gan. Obeying his master, The servant followed his orders, but while firing the shards towards the tower, some of them filled with higher evil energy escaped different multiverses, thus causing more ruckus than Maerlyn had imagined. The shards in different multiverses damaged mostly humans who got drawn towards evil rather than good, as the mirror only advocated evil as a good thing. As a result, a long-lasting battle between good and evil was triggered, which pleased Maerlyn's eyes. Involved in the emergence of the Imperium, Maerlyn was still not content with his plans and wanted more chaos to destroy the Dark Tower and restore the Prim, where he and other demons once dwelled and thrived before it receded. So he planned his next move and made the people of Midworld his next pawn. He took the form of an old mage and started imparting his knowledge and philosophy of magic to them. He cunningly introduced them to Dogen, a technique with which one can infuse magic and create super weapons of their choice. Slowly, when the people of the Midworld gained consciousness of the threats of their universe, they understood the need for an organized society, so they built a new empire, Imperium, to take control of everything, including the Dark Tower, the force that binds it all. To fulfill their ambition, the people of Midworld went all guns a-blazing towards the Dark Tower with their super weapons, but unfortunately, one of their super weapons malfunctioned and its actions created an unprecedented fog through which weird and bloodthirsty demons appeared. The demons entered the Midworld realm through the fog and created destruction with each move, but somehow, the Dark Tower remained intact against the run of consequences. To control the situation, Gan dropped his blood on the Midworld to curb out the fog and make those monsters vanish from the scene. Later, a man known as Arthur Eld became the new king and the man of power in the human world and started leading the humans to a new era of peace and healing, much to the dislike of Maerlyn. Behind the birth of the Crimson King. When Merlin's plan to destroy his brother Gan and the Dark Tower failed miserably, he once again sought the powers of the magical water of Prim. This time, he transformed Prim's water into magical, colorful spheres and summoned the Great Old Ones, a group of powerful monsters of Prim for his wicked plan. Through the magical spheres, Maerlyn transformed those evil deities into human form, and the eldest one transformed herself into a beautiful woman wearing crimson-red silk robes. Maerlyn gave her the name Crimson Queen. Later, Maerlyn came to Arthur with his old human mage form for a peace treaty. Arthur, being a man of white, accepted Merlin's proposal and threw a huge party for the occasion. At the party, Arthur became intimate with the Crimson Queen, but after the party, the Crimson Queen and the other monsters transformed back into their original forms and wreaked havoc by killing and devouring most of the living souls there. Eventually, Maerlyn and the Crimson Queen were forced to flee Arthur's place, but they successfully left the fingerprints of their destruction in the court. After their arrival, the Crimson Queen discovered that she was pregnant with Arthur's child and later gave birth to a child known as the Crimson King, the future king of the Dark World and the ultimate evil of the series. But Maerlyn had a vision that a special someone from Gan's side would surely arrive to defeat the Crimson King. So, to keep his hopes of crushing the Dark Tower alive, Maerlyn advised the Crimson Queen to identify and destroy that individual as soon as possible to safeguard the Crimson King and their mission. The father of Randall Flagg, the Man in Black. Maerlyn is the father of the most trusted servant of the Crimson King, Randall Flagg. Randall was born when Maerlyn became physically intimate with a mid-world death god named Selena. Later, Randall was deliberately sent to the human realm to study and learn the ways of humans so that he or Randall could nullify any threat coming from that realm. After burning his human parents' home, Randall returned to Maerlyn to learn all his magic powers and tricks to establish himself as a quasi-immortal mix of half-human and half-demon of the Dark Realm and provide his services without any weaknesses. Other notable influences. Maerlyn was also involved in other important storylines, such as creating the Maerlyn Rainbow, a collection of 13 magical spheres that only impart chaos and havoc. And who could forget the grapefruit, named under his honor, that severely impacted Roland's first quest as the Gunslinger. He's also involved in a brief storyline with Tim Ross in The Wind Through the Keyhole, the 8th novel of the series. In this edition, Tim Ross saves Maerlyn from a cage while he's disguised in tiger form, and in return, Maerlyn provides him with an antidote to cure his mother's blindness. How can Mike set up Maerlyn for the very first installment of his series? Very limited events in the Dark Tower have a non-Maerlyn presence, even though it's quite understandable that Roland would be the central figure of the whole narrative. However, Mike can easily use Maerlyn to set up the origins of the Prim, which act as the foundational pillar of the overall narrative of this universe. He could also use the backdrop of Maerlyn to establish the origins of prominent villains like the Crimson King and Randall Flagg for an organic flow to the show. He could also use Maerlyn to bridge the present and past timelines to streamline the storytelling experience. Appearance, powers, and personality of Maerlyn. Maerlyn is a master shapeshifter and has been changing his shape and form to manipulate all living beings and entities to fulfill his demands and obsession. In human form, Maerlyn is an old bearded mage with long robes, but in reality, his sinister appearance is still unknown. While speaking of his personality, it's said that villains are created, not born. But such isn't the case with Maerlyn. Maerlyn has always been the agent of chaos in the dark world since his birth to the raw, chaotic Prim. He's a demonic deity who finds pleasure and amusement in disturbing the peace, harmony, and balance in this complex universe and would go to any extent to achieve his ambitions. If we're considering his powers, Maerlyn has every possible power in his arsenal to make him an invincible villain of this universe. His powers range from dark magic, mind control, and telepathy to shape-shifting foresight and beyond. But he also has other notable powers, including necromancy and reality warping, which helps him get from time to get all of his evil work done. Marvelous verdict! This isn't the first time that someone's tried to adapt The Dark Tower for a live-action interpretation. In 2017, Netflix attempted to create this epic with Idris Elba as the gunslinger, Roland Deschain, and Matthew McConaughey as Randall Flagg. However, the movie failed to deliver due to its complex nature and poor structure. So, it'll be interesting to see how Mike handles this uphill task with very little to gamble on. Will Mike include Maerlyn in his storyline, or will he deviate from the original and develop something new? Will he be able to replicate the book's success on screen, or is he doomed to be another failure on the list? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell button for the latest notifications. And until next time, have a marvelous day.